In a quiet coastal town, where the sea hummed lullabies against the rocks and the wind whispered stories through the pines, there lived an old carpenter named Elias. His workshop sat at the end of a narrow lane, a modest building filled with the scent of cedar and the soft dust of years. Elias was known for building boats, not the grand vessels of cities, but small fishing boats, sturdy and beautiful. Every plank he shaped with care, every nail driven with purpose. Young people in town admired his work, but they did not understand his pace. One young man named Tomas, eager and full of ambition, often walked past Elias's shop shaking his head at the slow, deliberate process within. Tomas had recently started building boats of his own. He worked quickly, used machines Elias refused to touch, and took orders faster than he could fill them. People praised Tomas's energy, and soon his business was bustling. One morning, Tomas stopped by Elias's shop, curious to see what the old man was working on. He found Elias sanding a single plank by hand, humming quietly. "You still doing everything the slow way?" Tomas asked, half amused. Elias smiled without looking up. "The wood tells me what it needs if I take the time to listen." Tomas laughed. "I don't have time for that. Customers want speed. If you're too slow, they'll forget you." Elias nodded. "Perhaps. But speed does not always carry you where you want to go." Tomas shrugged and left. Months passed. Tomas's business grew even busier. He took on more orders, hired a few workers, and filled his yard with boats. But trouble followed. Some boats began leaking. Others cracked under the weight of the sea. Angry customers returned, demanding repairs or refunds. Tomas worked harder, faster, trying to patch mistakes. But the faster he worked, the more problems appeared. One stormy afternoon, Tomas sat alone in his shop, overwhelmed and exhausted. The rain lashed against the windows, and the wind howled like it was mocking him. He looked at one of his boats, freshly built but already splitting at the seams. In frustration, Tomas walked out into the rain and made his way to Elias's workshop. The old man was inside, seated by a fire, whittling a small figure of a gull. He looked up and gestured for Tomas to sit. "I need help," Tomas admitted. "I thought I could do it faster, better. But the more I rushed, the worse things became. What am I doing wrong?" Elias set down his carving. "Tell me, Tomas, when you build your boats, do you think of the sea?" Tomas frowned. "I think of finishing. I think of selling." "That's the difference," Elias said. "Every boat I build, I imagine it facing a storm. I imagine a man's life depending on whether that boat holds together. So I shape each piece as if it must carry something precious. Because it does." Tomas lowered his gaze. "I thought I could outwork the problems. That speed meant success." Elias leaned forward. "There is a rhythm to good work, just like the sea. You can't rush a tide. You can't hurry a tree to grow. And you can't build something lasting if your only goal is to finish it quickly. Craftsmanship is love made visible. It's time made solid. And time, Tomas, is the one thing you can't cheat." They sat in silence, the fire crackling softly between them. "Can you teach me?" Tomas asked. Elias smiled. "Only if you're willing to forget everything you think you know." From that day forward, Tomas became a student again. He returned each morning to Elias's workshop, learning not only how to shape wood, but how to listen to it. He learned patience, attention, humility. He unlearned haste. Slowly, the boats he built began to change. Fewer cracked. None leaked. And something else changed too. His customers returned not just for boats, but to shake his hand, to speak of the way his craft felt trustworthy, as if it had a soul. Years later, after Elias passed, Tomas inherited the old workshop. He kept it just as it had been, with the same tools, the same slow hum of care in every corner. And when a new young man came by one day and scoffed at the pace of his work, Tomas only smiled. The advice is this: in life and craft, slow is not weak. Time spent with care creates things that last. Don't rush to be seen. Work so that what you build stands when no one is watching.